The vast emptiness of space stretched in all directions around the Zephyrian Empire's Third Fleet. 12 massive warships moved in perfect formation through the darkness, their hulls gleaming under the distant light of foreign stars. Each vessel was larger than a city block and covered in weapon ports that could destroy entire planets. Admiral Vexthara stood on the bridge of her flagship. The Sovereign's might, her tall, thin body was covered in purple scales that shimmered under the ship's bright lights. Her arms moved gracefully as she reviewed reports from her fleet commanders. The Zephyrians had ruled this part of the galaxy for over 300 years, and no species had ever challenged their power. "Admiral, we are approaching the outer edge of the Kepler system," reported her navigation officer. The young Zephyrian's voice carried the respectful tone that all soldiers used when speaking to their superiors. "Our sensors show no signs of intelligent life in this area." Vexthara nodded slowly. This was routine patrol work, the kind of mission that kept the Empire's borders secure. Her fleet was powerful enough to conquer 10-star systems without breaking formation. The plasma cannons on her ships could melt through any known armor, and their energy shields could deflect any weapon the Empire had ever encountered. Far away, in the cold darkness between the stars, something stirred. The Un's Liberty drifted silently through space, its crew deep in artificial sleep. The human warship was smaller than the Zephyrian vessels, but built with materials and technology that had never been seen in this galaxy. Its hull was smooth black, metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Jake Morrison opened his eyes as the ship's computer gently woke him from cryosleep. The tall man with short brown hair sat up slowly, letting his body adjust to being awake again. He had been asleep for 3 years while the ship traveled through hyperspace, using an experimental drive system that Earth's best scientists had designed. "Good morning, Captain," said the ship's artificial intelligence through speakers in the walls. "We have successfully emerged from hyperspace, however. Our current location does not match our intended destination." Jake stood up and walked to the bridge, his muscles still stiff from the long sleep. The Liberty's bridge was much smaller than those found on larger military vessels, but every surface was covered with advanced displays and control systems. The crew of 60 humans had been chosen from Earth's best military personnel for this mission. Dr. Lisa Parker was already at her station, studying the navigation data with a worried expression on her face. The woman had designed the faster-than-light drive that brought them here, but something had gone wrong during their journey. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and she wore the standard blue uniform of Earth's space service. "We're definitely not where we planned to be," Lisa said without looking up from her screens. "The star patterns don't match any of our charts. I think we traveled much farther than expected." Chief Engineer Ryan Davis emerged from the lower decks, wiping grease from his hands with a dirty cloth. The stocky man had been checking the ship's systems while the others woke up. His dark skin showed the scars of many years working with dangerous machinery, and his deep voice carried a slight accent from his home in Texas. "The ship's in good shape, Captain," Ryan reported. "All systems are working normally. The hyperspace drive is powered down, but we can activate it again if needed." Jake nodded and took his place in the captain's chair. The command seat was positioned in the center of the bridge, giving him a clear view of all the control stations. Around him, the rest of his senior staff was waking up and taking their positions. These men and women were the best Earth had to offer, trained for a mission that was supposed to be peaceful exploration. Commander Alex Stone appeared at the tactical station, his fingers already dancing across the weapon controls. The man was shorter than his captain, but built like a fighter, with muscles that came from years of military training. His job was to protect the ship and crew from any dangers they might encounter in space. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple contacts on long-range sensors," Alex announced, his voice tight with concern. 12 large vessels, unknown configuration. They're arranged in what looks like a military formation. Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was supposed to be empty space, far from any inhabited worlds. The presence of organized ships suggested they had stumbled into someone else's territory. He turned to Lieutenant Commander Tony Williams at the communications station. "Any response to our standard greeting transmissions?" Jake asked. Tony shook his head. The young man had been trying to establish contact since the sensors first detected the alien fleet. His equipment could broadcast in hundreds of different languages and mathematical concepts, but so far there had been no response from the unknown ships. Dr. Elizabeth Carter hurried onto the bridge, still pulling on her uniform jacket. The ship's expert on alien life had been studying the sensor data from her laboratory below. Her red hair was messy from sleep, but her green eyes were alert and focused on the tactical display. Captain, based on the size and arrangement of those vessels, I believe we're looking at a military fleet, she said. The ships are much larger than ours, and they're positioned in an attack formation that suggests hostile intent. On the other side of space, Admiral Vexthara received reports from her sensor operators about the strange new contact. The unknown vessel had appeared from nowhere, materializing in empty space like some kind of ghost. Its design was unlike anything in the Empire's vast databases of conquered species. The vessel appears to be constructed from unknown materials, reported her science officer. It's much smaller than our destroyers, but its hull composition is unlike anything we've encountered before. Vexthara studied the image on her main display. The alien ship looked dangerous despite its size, with smooth lines that suggested advanced engineering. However, it was alone against her entire fleet. Whatever species had built it would soon learn the power of the Zephyrian Empire. Open communication channels, she ordered. Transmit surrender demands in all known galactic languages. Give them one chance to submit peacefully before we demonstrate our superiority. The Admiral's forearms moved gracefully as she prepared her fleet for what she expected to be a very short battle. In 300 years of expansion, no species had ever refused to surrender when faced with the Empire's overwhelming military power. This encounter would be no different, but deep in space. Captain Jake Morrison was making his own preparations. The human warship that had appeared from nowhere was about to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. Admiral Vexthara waited for the unknown vessel to respond to her surrender demands. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 47 star systems using the same simple strategy. Show overwhelming force, demand submission, and destroy any species foolish enough to resist. It had worked perfectly for 3 centuries. Her communication officer turned to face her with a puzzled expression. The young Zephyrian's scales were pale blue, marking him as recently graduated from the military academy. He had never seen a species refuse to acknowledge the Empire's power. Admiral, the alien vessel is not responding to any of our transmissions, he reported. We have broadcast in 17 different galactic languages, but they continue to ignore our demands. Vexthara's forearms moved in a gesture of mild annoyance. Some primitive species took longer to understand their situation, but eventually, they all surrendered when faced with superior technology. This would be no different. Move 3 destroyers into intercept position, she commanded. Begin boarding procedures. We will take their vessel intact and study their technology. On the bridge of the UNS Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison watched the alien ships change formation. 3 of the smaller vessels were breaking away from the main fleet and heading directly toward them. Their intentions were clear even without successful communication. They're moving to intercept us, Commander Alex Stone reported from his tactical station, based on their approach vector. I'd say they plan to disable our engines and board our ship. Jake felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. Earth had sent them on a mission of peaceful exploration, but the situation was rapidly moving beyond diplomacy. The alien fleet clearly viewed them as a threat or a prize to be captured. Lieutenant Commander Tony Williams looked up from his communication console, with frustration written on his face. Captain, I've tried every language and mathematical concept. In our database, they're sending us what appears to be ultimatums, but we can't establish any meaningful dialogue. Dr. Elizabeth Carter studied the incoming vessels on her scanner display. The alien ships were massive compared to the Liberty, each one easily 5 times larger than their vessel. But size wasn't everything, and she had noticed some interesting details about their construction. Captain, based on their hull configurations, I believe these aliens rely heavily on energy-based technology, she said. Their ships are covered in what appear to be plasma cannon emplacements and energy shield generators. Jake nodded grimly. What about their defenses? Standard energy shielding. From what I can tell, Elizabeth replied. Similar to what we expected. To encounter, but much more powerful than our theoretical models suggested. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis spoke up from his engineering station. Captain, all systems are ready. Our deflector shields are online and operating at full power. If they want to fight, we can give them one. The 3 Zephyrian destroyers moved into attack formation round the human vessel. Each ship was a kilometer long and bristled with enough firepower to level a city. Their commanders had fought dozens of battles against primitive species, and they expected this encounter to follow the same pattern. Captain Ziegler commanded the lead destroyer and had personally overseen the conquest of 6 star systems. The veteran officer studied the alien vessel with professional interest. Its design was strange but elegant, clearly the work of an advanced civilization. That would make its capture even more valuable to the Empire. Target their engine systems. Ziegler ordered his weapons. Officer, disable their propulsion so they cannot escape, but leave their hull intact. The Admiral wants prisoners for interrogation. The destroyer's main plasma cannon charged with a deep humming sound that echoed through the ship's corridors. The weapon could punch through solid rock and had never failed to disable an enemy vessel. Ziegler smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Another victory for the Empire. On the Liberty's bridge, Alex Stone watched his tactical display as the lead alien ship powered up its weapons. Captain, they're charging some kind of energy weapon. Massive power signature. All hands, prepare for combat, Jake announced over the ship's communication system. This is not a drill. We are about to engage hostile alien forces. Throughout the ship, 60 human crew members took their positions at battle stations. In the engine room, Ryan Davis redirected power from non-essential systems to strengthen their defensive grid. The Liberty had been built for exploration, but its designers had included military-grade systems just in case. Dr. Lisa Parker activated the ship's experimental defensive systems. From her science station, the faster-than-light drive that had brought them here was just one of several new technologies that Earth's scientists had developed. Some of those innovations were about to be tested in real combat. The first Zephyrian destroyer fired its main plasma cannon. A bolt of superheated energy raced across space toward the human vessel, carrying enough power to melt through solid steel. Captain Ziegler watched with satisfaction, already planning his report to Admiral Vexthara. The plasma bolt struck the Liberty's deflector shields and simply vanished. The human defensive system absorbed the energy impact without even flickering. On his bridge, Ziegler stared in disbelief at his weapons display. Fire again, he ordered, his voice tight with confusion. Maximum power. 2 more plasma bolts lanced out from the destroyer, followed by supporting fire from the other 2 Zephyrian ships. The combined energy barrage would have destroyed any vessel in the Empire's fleet, but the human shields held firm, protecting the Liberty as if the alien weapons were nothing more than bright lights. Commander Alex Stone smiled grimly as he watched the alien energy weapons strike their shields harmlessly. Their weapons are exactly what Dr. Carter predicted. Pure energy discharge, no kinetic component. Jake made his decision. These aliens had approached with hostile intent and opened fire without provocation. Earth's first contact with an alien species was going to be a battle, whether he wanted it or not. Return fire, he ordered. Target their weapon systems. Let's show them what human engineering can do. The Liberty's railgun batteries rotated into firing position. Unlike the alien plasma weapons, these guns fired solid projectiles accelerated to tremendous speeds using magnetic fields. The technology was simple compared to energy weapons, but devastatingly effective. Commander Stone targeted the lead destroyer's main weapon array and fired. The railgun projectile crossed the distance between ships in seconds, traveling at a significant fraction of light speed. The kinetic round completely bypassed the Zephyrian energy shields, which were designed to deflect plasma and laser fire. The tungsten projectile punched through the destroyer's hull like paper, tearing through armor plating and internal systems. Secondary explosions rippled through the alien ship as the kinetic impact destroyed power conduits and weapon systems. The massive vessel began venting atmosphere and debris into space. Captain Ziegler felt his ship shudder under the impact. Emergency. Alarms blared throughout the destroyer as damage control teams scrambled to contain the hull breaches. He had never seen a weapon that could penetrate their shields so easily. Admiral Vexthara watched in horror as one of her destroyers was crippled by a single shot from the alien vessel. In 300 years of conquest, no enemy had ever damaged an Imperial warship so severely. The unknown species possessed weapons technology that made their shields useless. All ships converge on the alien vessel, she commanded, her voice carrying a note of desperation. Overwhelming firepower. Destroy it before it can damage any more of our vessels. The remaining 11 ships of the Third Fleet moved to attack. Formation, their combined firepower enough to destroy a small moon, but deep in space. Captain Jake Morrison was preparing to show the Zephyrian Empire that numbers alone would not be enough to defeat human determination and ingenuity. The remaining 11 ships of the Zephyrian Third Fleet spread out in attack formation. Around the human vessel, Admiral Vexthara commanded from the rear, her forearms trembling with a mixture of fear and rage. No enemy had ever destroyed one of her ships so easily. The alien vessel's single shot had crippled a destroyer that should have been invincible. Maintain maximum distance, she ordered her fleet commanders. Use overlapping fields of fire. Whatever weapon they possess, we will overwhelm it with superior numbers. Her tactical officer studied the battle display with growing concern. The alien ship was much smaller than their vessels, but it had already proven that size meant nothing. In this fight, the unknown species possessed technology that made their energy shields completely useless. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the Liberty's bridge, watching as the enemy fleet surrounded them. 11 massive warships formed a sphere around his vessel, each one bristling with weapon ports and energy systems. The tactical situation looked hopeless to anyone who didn't understand human technology. They're trying to surround us, Commander. Alex Stone reported from his weapons station. Classic envelopment tactic. They want to hit us from all directions at once. Dr. Elizabeth Carter looked up from her science console, where she had been analyzing debris from the destroyed Zephyrian vessel. Her face was pale but determined as she shared her findings with the command crew. Captain, I've completed my analysis of the alien wreckage, she said. Their species appears to be physically fragile compared to humans. Hollow bones, delicate internal organs, and nervous systems that can't handle high-stress situations. Jake nodded grimly. What about their technology, highly advanced but specialized? Elizabeth replied. Everything they build is designed around energy manipulation and automation. They've never had to deal with kinetic weapons or physical impacts. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis monitored the ship's power systems as the alien fleet closed in. The Liberty's fusion reactors were running at full capacity, feeding energy to their shields and weapon systems. He had designed many of the ship's systems himself, and he knew exactly what they could do. Captain, all weapon systems are ready, Ryan announced. Our railguns are loaded, and our missile tubes are armed. The experimental systems are also online, if we need them. Lieutenant Commander Tony Williams continued trying to establish communication with the alien fleet, but his efforts were proving useless. The Zephyrians seemed interested only in destruction, not diplomacy. Their transmissions contained nothing but threats and demands for surrender. Still no luck with communication, Captain. Tony reported. They're broadcasting what sounds like battle commands to their other ships. I think they're coordinating their attack. The first wave of alien fire came from 6 different directions at once. Plasma bolts and energy beams converged on the Liberty from all sides, creating a brilliant light show in the darkness of space. The combined firepower could have melted an asteroid, but the human shields absorbed every joule of energy without strain. Dr. Lisa Parker monitored the shield systems from her station, watching power levels and energy distribution patterns. The deflector technology she had helped develop was performing perfectly, but she knew that even the best shields had limits. Shields holding at 98%. She reported, their weapons are powerful, but they're all energy-based. Our deflectors were designed specifically to handle this type of attack. Commander Stone targeted the nearest Zephyrian cruiser and fired a full spread of railgun rounds. The kinetic projectiles streaked across space at tremendous speed, each one carrying enough energy to punch through solid rock. The alien ship's shields might as well have been made of paper. The tungsten rounds tore through the cruiser's hull in multiple places, causing massive internal damage. Explosions rippled through the vessel as power systems overloaded and ammunition stores detonated. Within seconds, the massive warship was reduced to an expanding cloud of debris and escaping atmosphere. Admiral Vexthara watched in horror as another of her ships was destroyed. The alien vessel's weapons seemed to ignore their shields completely, striking with the force of small meteors. Her fleet's technological superiority was proving meaningless against an enemy that fought with such primitive yet effective weapons. Focus all fire on their weapons systems, she commanded desperately. They must have some weakness we can exploit. The remaining Zephyrian ships concentrated their plasma cannons on the Liberty's railgun turrets, hoping to disable the human weapons. Before they could fire again, energy bolts struck the ship's hull with tremendous force. But the human armor was designed to withstand kinetic impacts as well as energy discharge. Jake coordinated his crew's response as the alien fleet pressed their attack. The Zephyrians were learning to concentrate their fire, but they still didn't understand the fundamental differences between their technologies. Human engineering had always favored practical solutions over elegant ones. Target their command ship, he ordered Alex, the large one hanging back from the battle. That's where their admiral is giving orders. Commander Stone smiled as he programmed the targeting computer. The Zephyrian flagship was the largest vessel in their fleet, covered in communication arrays and sensor equipment. It would make an excellent target for their most powerful weapons. The Liberty's main railgun fired a single round at the Sovereign's might. The projectile crossed the distance in seconds, aimed directly at the flagship's bridge section. But Admiral Vexthara had learned from watching her other ships die, and she ordered evasive maneuvers just in time. The tungsten round missed the bridge by mere meters, instead striking the ship's main weapon array. The kinetic impact destroyed 6 plasma cannons and their power systems, leaving the flagship partially defenseless. Vexthara felt her ship shudder under the blow, and she knew that her fleet was facing complete destruction. That Dr. Carter detected new contacts on the edge of the sensor range, moving toward their position at high speed. Her analysis of the approaching signatures made her heart sink. The battle was about to become much more complicated. "Captain, I'm detecting reinforcements," she announced. "Multiple ships approaching from the inner system. It looks like they called for backup." Tony Williams intercepted communication signals between the alien fleets, and his translation programs were finally making progress with their language. What he heard made him realize how desperate their situation was becoming. "Captain, I'm picking up their communications," he reported. "They're calling this vessel a major threat to their empire. The approaching fleet has orders to destroy us at all costs." Jake looked at the tactical display as more enemy contacts appeared on the screen. The Zephyrians had numerical superiority and were willing to sacrifice their entire fleet to stop the Liberty. But he had one advantage that the aliens couldn't understand: human adaptability. "Ryan, prepare the experimental weapon systems," he ordered. "It's time to show these aliens what human ingenuity can really do." In the engine room, Chief Davis activated systems that had never been tested in real combat. Dr. Parker had designed weapons that pushed the boundaries of known physics, and now they would find out if human engineering could overcome impossible odds. The Liberty's hull began to reconfigure itself, revealing hidden weapon ports and launch bays that the Zephyrians had never detected. The human warship was about to unleash technology that would change the course of the battle and prove that Earth's children were ready to take their place among the stars. Admiral Vexthara watched in growing terror as the alien vessel transformed. Before her eyes, whatever species had built this ship, they were unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. The humans were about to demonstrate that their resistance was not useless after all. "Doctor," Lisa Parker's hands moved quickly across her control panel as she activated the experimental weapon. systems she had hoped never to use in actual combat. The Liberty's hull began to change shape, with hidden panels sliding open to reveal launch bays that had been invisible moments before. Inside each bay, small craft waited in perfect rows like sleeping birds. "Experimental drone fighters are ready for launch," she announced to Captain Morrison. "Each unit carries miniaturized railgun technology and can operate independently from the mothership." Jake stared at the tactical display as more Zephyrian ships appeared on the sensors. The reinforcements were larger than the original fleet, and they were approaching fast. His single ship was about to face over 20 alien warships, each one capable of destroying cities. "Launch all drones," he ordered. "Show them what human engineering can really do." The Liberty's hidden bays opened like flowers blooming in space. Dozens of small black craft emerged from the mothership, each one no larger than a fighter jet but packed with advanced technology. The drone swarm spread out around the human vessel, moving with precision that no living pilot could match. Admiral Vexthara watched in growing terror as the alien ship released what appeared to be a cloud of smaller vessels. Her tactical officers had never seen anything like it in 3 centuries of conquest. The Empire's military doctrine had no response to swarm tactics or unmanned fighters. "Target the small craft," she commanded desperately. "Destroy them before they could attack our ships." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire on the drone swarm with everything they had. Plasma bolts and energy beams filled space with deadly light. But the human fighters were too small and fast to hit easily. They moved like a school of fish, changing direction instantly to avoid incoming fire. Commander Alex Stone coordinated the drone attack from his tactical station. Each fighter operated semi-independently, following basic attack patterns while receiving updates from the Liberty's computers. The swarm could adapt to changing battlefield conditions faster than any organic crew. "Drones are engaging enemy targets," he reported. "Each fighter is selecting its own target based on threat assessment and weapon capabilities." The first wave of drone fighters reached the nearest Zephyrian cruiser and opened fire with their miniaturized railguns. The tiny kinetic rounds might have seemed harmless compared to the Liberty's main weapons, but they struck with devastating precision. Dozens of small holes appeared in the alien ship's hull as the fighters targeted critical systems. Captain Zekover commanded one of the reinforcement vessels, a heavy battlecruiser that had never been damaged in 40 years of service. He watched in disbelief as the small alien craft swarmed around his ship like angry insects, each one capable of punching holes through his armor. "Point defense systems are ineffective," his weapons officer reported. "The enemy craft are too small and too fast. Our plasma cannons cannot track targets moving at such high speed." Zekover ordered evasive maneuvers, but his massive ship was too slow to escape the drone swarm. The human fighters followed his vessel through every turn, continuing their precise attacks on weapon systems and engines. Within minutes, his battlecruiser was dead in space. Dr. Elizabeth Carter monitored the alien communications from her science station, using the translation programs that Tony Williams had developed. During the battle, the Zephyrian commanders were panicking as they tried to understand what they were facing. "Captain, I'm intercepting their battle communications," she reported. "They're calling our drones impossible. Their military training never prepared them for unmanned fighters or swarm tactics." Jake nodded grimly as he watched the tactical display. The drone swarm was proving devastatingly effective against ships designed to fight large vessels in traditional formations. Each fighter was small enough to avoid most weapons while carrying enough firepower to cripple much larger opponents. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis monitored the drone control systems from his engineering station. The fighters were operating exactly as designed, using artificial intelligence to make tactical decisions faster than any human could think. It was the ultimate expression of human adaptability. "All drone systems are functioning perfectly," he announced. "They're sharing targeting data and coordinating attacks automatically. The enemy fleet can't handle this kind of distributed warfare." Admiral Vexthara realized that her entire fleet was being destroyed by weapons she couldn't even understand. The alien ship had revealed capabilities that seemed to violate everything the Empire knew about space combat. Single fighters were disabling her largest warships with weapons that ignored their shields. "Send surrender signals," she commanded, her voice breaking with desperation. "Broadcast on all frequencies. We cannot win this battle." Lieutenant Commander Tony Williams detected the alien surrender transmissions almost immediately. His translation programs had finally cracked enough of their language to understand basic concepts. The enemy admiral was offering to discuss terms of defeat. "Captain, they're trying to surrender," he reported. "The alien commander is broadcasting what appears to be a formal request to discuss terms." Jake made a decision that would define first contact between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. Despite their aggressive intentions and unprovoked attack, he chose to demonstrate human mercy rather than complete the destruction of the alien fleet. "Recall the drones," he ordered. "Target their weapon systems only, disable their ships, but leave life support intact." The drone swarm immediately changed tactics, focusing on disabling rather than destroying the remaining Zephyrian vessels. The fighters used precision strikes to knock out plasma cannons and shield generators, while carefully avoiding areas that contained crew quarters or life support systems. Dr. Parker watched with pride as her experimental weapons demonstrated not just their destructive power but their surgical precision. The drones could have easily destroyed the entire alien fleet, but human programming had given them the ability to show restraint. When ordered, Commander Stone coordinated the precision strikes with military efficiency. Each disabled ship was left helpless, but intact, its crew alive, but unable to continue fighting. The demonstration of human tactical superiority was complete. Within an hour, the entire Zephyrian fleet was disabled. 23 warships floated, dead in space, their weapons destroyed and their engines offline. Not a single alien vessel had been completely destroyed since Jake ordered the change in tactics, but none of them could offer any further resistance. Admiral Vexthara stared at her tactical display in complete shock. The alien vessel had demonstrated the ability to destroy her entire fleet, then chosen mercy instead of genocide. Her species had never encountered an enemy capable of such overwhelming victory. Combined with such unexpected compassion, Dr. Carter began working on formal communication protocols as the battle ended. The alien surrender offered humanity its first chance for real diplomatic contact. With another intelligent species, first contact had begun with violence, but perhaps it could end with understanding. Captain Morrison looked out at the disabled alien fleet and felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The Liberty had proven that Earth's children could defend themselves against any threat. But now came the harder task of building peace with former enemies. The human warship that had appeared from nowhere had shown the Zephyrian Empire that their resistance was indeed useless against human determination and ingenuity. But more importantly, it had demonstrated that humanity was ready to take its place among the stars as both a warrior and a peacemaker. Admiral Vexthara stood alone on the bridge of her crippled flagship, staring out at the wreckage of her once mighty fleet. 23 Zephyrian warships floated helplessly in space, their weapons destroyed and their engines dead. The alien vessel that had appeared from nowhere had defeated the Empire's finest forces. With almost casual ease, her communication officer approached carefully, his forearms trembling with fear and shame. The young Zephyrian had never imagined that their invincible fleet could be reduced to floating scrap metal by a single enemy ship. "Admiral, the alien vessel is transmitting what appears to be formal surrender terms," he reported quietly. "They are requesting that we follow Empire protocols for honorable defeat." Vexthara felt her heart sink even further. The unknown species not only possessed overwhelming military superiority, but they also understood diplomatic customs. This suggested a level of sophistication that made their victory even more humiliating for the Empire. On the Liberty's bridge, Captain Jake Morrison studied the alien admiral's surrender message that Dr. Elizabeth Carter had finally translated. The formal language revealed a military culture based on honor and tradition, which gave him hope for establishing peaceful relations. "The alien commander is offering complete surrender of her fleet," Elizabeth reported. "According to their customs, this means we have the right to take prisoners and claim their ships as spoils of war." Jake nodded thoughtfully. The situation offered humanity a chance to learn about galactic politics and alien technology. But it also presented moral challenges. These beings had attacked without provocation, yet they were now helpless and at his mercy. Open a communication channel, he ordered Lieutenant Commander Tony Williams. Let's see if we can establish proper contact with their leader. Tony's translation programs had made remarkable progress during the battle, learning the Zephyrian language from intercepted military communications. He activated the main screen and established a visual link with the alien flagship. Admiral Vexthara appeared on the Liberty's view screen, her tall purple form standing straight despite her defeat. Her species was clearly reptilian, with scales that changed color to reflect emotional states. Jake could see fear and shame in her posture, but also a dignity that commanded respect. I am Admiral Vexthara of the Zephyrian Empire's Third Fleet, she said through the translation system. I formally surrender my remaining forces to your superior military power. We accept whatever terms you choose to impose upon us. Jake stepped forward, knowing that his next words would shape humanity's first diplomatic contact with an alien civilization. Ian, the weight of representing his entire species, pressed heavily on his shoulders. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel Liberty, he replied carefully. We accept your surrender, but we are not conquerors. We came here seeking peaceful exploration, not war. Vexthara's scales shifted to a different shade of purple, indicating confusion. In 3 centuries of Empire expansion, no species had ever claimed to be explorers after demonstrating such devastating military capabilities. This contradiction challenged everything she understood about galactic politics. Dr. Carter began coordinating rescue operations for alien survivors, whose ships had lost life support during the battle. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis organized teams to provide emergency power and atmosphere to the most damaged vessels. The human crew worked tirelessly to save lives that belonged to their former enemies. Captain, we've identified 17 ships with critical life support failures, Carter reported. Our engineering teams are providing emergency assistance to keep their crews alive. Jake approved the rescue operations without hesitation. Showing compassion to defeated enemies was a fundamental human value, even if the aliens had originally attacked without provocation. This demonstration of mercy might prove more valuable than any military victory. Commander Alex Stone analyzed the captured Zephyrian database cores that his teams had recovered from disabled ships. The information contained within them painted a disturbing picture of galactic civilization under Empire rule. Captain, you need to see this, he announced grimly. According to their records, the Zephyrian Empire controls over 40 star systems. Through military conquest, they've enslaved dozens of intelligent species. The tactical display showed a map of Empire territory, with conquered worlds marked in red and slave species identified by symbols. Jake realized that humanity had stumbled into a much larger conflict than he had imagined. The Liberty's victory might have implications far beyond this single battle. Dr. Lisa Parker studied the alien technology with fascination, comparing their energy-based systems to human engineering principles. The Zephyrians had achieved remarkable advances in plasma manipulation and shield generation, but they had never developed kinetic weapons or drone technology. Their approach to warfare is completely different from ours, she explained to the senior staff. They rely on overwhelming energy output and massive ships, while we favor precision and adaptability. Neither side was prepared for the other's tactics. Lieutenant Williams received a priority transmission from deep space, originating from the direction of Earth. The experimental communication array had finally received a response to their earlier messages, though the signal had taken months to cross interstellar distances. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command, he announced excitedly. They're requesting a full report on our mission status and any alien contacts. Jake realized that his report would change everything for humanity. Earth had sent them to explore empty space, but they had discovered a galaxy full of intelligent life and conquered civilizations. The human race was about to learn that they were not alone in the universe. Admiral Vexthara requested permission to address the human captain personally. Her pride as a military officer demanded that she understand how her superior fleet had been defeated so completely by what appeared to be a single exploration vessel. Your species possesses military technology unlike anything in our databases, she admitted. Your weapons ignore our shields. Your fighters move faster than our targeting systems, and your tactics are completely foreign to our military doctrine. How is this possible? Jake considered his answer carefully. The truth might sound arrogant, but it was important for the alien commander to understand human capabilities and limitations. We are not a military species by nature, he explained. But when threatened, humans adapt quickly and fight with everything we have. Our technology developed differently because we face different challenges. The conversation continued for hours as both sides tried to understand each other. Jake learned that the Zephyrian Empire had grown corrupt through centuries of easy conquest, becoming dependent on overwhelming force rather than tactical innovation. Meanwhile, Vexthara discovered that humanity represented something entirely new in galactic politics. As the diplomatic discussions progressed, Dr. Carter made a startling discovery in the alien databases. The Empire's expansion had been driven by fear of an ancient enemy that had supposedly been defeated millennia ago. Their military buildup was actually preparation for a war they believed might come again. Captain, according to their historical records, the Empire originally formed as a defense alliance against something called the Void Swarm. She reported, they've been conquering other species to build strength for a war that might never come. Jake realized that humanity's arrival might offer the galaxy a chance for real change. The Liberty had proven that the Empire could be defeated, which might inspire the enslaved species to seek their freedom. But it also meant that Earth would inevitably be drawn into galactic politics, whether they wanted to be or not. He composed his message to Earth Command, knowing that it would take months to reach home, but understanding its historic importance. The transmission would inform humanity that they were no longer alone in the universe, that they possessed military capabilities that could challenge galactic empires, and that their choices would affect the freedom of countless alien civilizations. The human warship that had appeared from nowhere had proven that the Empire's resistance was useless against human determination and ingenuity. But more importantly, it had announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage as a force for both military strength and moral leadership. The stars would never be the same again.